our meeting to order. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the board in preparation of the annual meeting 2023 notice, which sets forth the date, time, and place of this meeting, and by properly posting such notice and forwarding that notice to those designated newspapers and persons requesting meeting notices. Please be advised, this is a non-smoking building. Fire exits are to my right and your left at the back of the room. This is a scheduled meeting of the planning board. There may be other meetings currently running simultaneously with this meeting. If you're not here for the Summit Planning Board, your meeting may be upstairs or elsewhere in the building. We go to our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Stephanie will do a roll call.
Sure. Chairman Anderson,
Present.
Mr. Brinkerhoff is expected but not yet present. Ms. Balston Alvarez is excused this evening. Ms. McNeil?
Here.
Mr. Delory is excused. Councilmember Miniger?
Here.
Vice Chairman Zucker is excused. Mr. Formicelli?
Here.
Mr. Stern?
Here.
Mr. Bell?
Here.
You have a quorum. You may proceed.
Thank you very much. Well, as my usual practice, I'm going to change the agenda around a little bit. I'd like to start with the council referral of the pending ordinance number 23-3291. I'm going to ask Chris Sobieski to our right here, who is standing in for Mr. We forget his name, Mr. Werner. Just kidding, for Mr. Werner. And then followed Chris's introduction to this particular issue in this ordinance. Joe Burgess will talk a little bit about it as well from the planner's perspective. So Chris, maybe you can lead on.
I'll take it away. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the introduction. So everybody, members of the public, members of the board, we are here tonight so that the board can decide whether or not the proposed ordinance that's in front of you that's already been introduced by the governing body, you're here to decide whether or not that is consistent with the city's master plan. This is a statutory obligation under the MLUL. The time for comments for or against, and this is directed towards the public, any comments for or against this ordinance, this is not the time for that. That would be at the next common council meeting when the ordinance is up for second reading and adoption by the governing body. The board is going to hear from its planner, Mr. Joe Burgess, and hear his recommendation prior to acting. And again, it's just deciding whether or not this ordinance is consistent with the master plan. And that's about it.
Thank you very much. Joe?
Right.
Okay, very briefly. Good evening, everyone. As you heard, the municipal land use law does require that anytime there's an ordinance being introduced by the governing body, it gets referred to this body for review and comment. The focus is the consistency with the municipality's master plan. This ordinance is all about the repeal of the redevelopment plan for West Broad Street. With that repeal, the prior zoning, which is business zoning for most of the tract and public zoning for the few municipally owned parcels in the library and YMCA, thank you.
And post office, yes.
The 2000 master plan was the last time we've done a comprehensive new master plan. And interestingly enough, that master plan recommended that very zoning, business zoning for the privately owned properties and the P zone, the public zone, for the 3 lots I just mentioned, with Paul's assistance. And following the adoption of that master plan, the ordinance was adopted that created or reaffirmed those 2 zone districts. So consequently, from a land use designation perspective, it's very straightforward. With this modification or repeal and inclusion of a reintroduction of those 2 zones, it is entirely consistent with the land use designation as set forth in the master plan. There are also a number of goals and objectives that were set forth in that master plan, which also are being implemented by this changeover, because those goals talk about consistency with the established development pattern, focus on retail development in the business zone, and reaffirmation of the public uses in the public zone. So consequently, I think it's safe to conclude, and it's my recommendation that you consider the fact that this does represent a consistency with the current master plan. Two other issues I just want to quickly touch upon. Now, some people believe that the reexamination reports, recommendations for master plan amendments represent a master plan. They do not. So if you were looking at the current or most recent, I think it's 2016 or 2017 reexamination reports, that document really does not come into play in this consideration. And I also want to point out, for the purposes of those that are interested in the affordable housing issue, the redevelopment, the West Broad Street redevelopment plan is not included in the housing element and fair share plan that was adopted around 2019 or so.
2019, I think, yeah.
So this change does not affect in any way, shape, or form the community's housing element and fair share plan.
Okay, thanks, Joe. And I thought maybe, since it's sort of that question, if it's not inconsistent with the master plan, stated in a double negative, I think I've talked to most of the board members here, but if anyone has any questions about it and the role the board has, as we said, it's not a public hearing. In this case, the public hearing occurs at the council level. But I imagine there may be some members of the board that has questions of you or Chris, Joe, you or Chris, yeah. Anyone have questions of our attorney or planner? No? No? Yes? Okay, sounds pretty clear. Yeah, sure, yeah, Rick?
The double negative is troublesome. It's comprehensible, utterly.
I want to
But-
state for the record, I did not write the municipal land use law.
Well, I'm not sure who wrote the script for any of this, but, there were a lot of signs on the streets, and there was a lot of angst at public meeting between the candidates. There's a lot of elephants in this room, in every sense of that word. And I would agree that the repeal of Broad Street West is not inconsistent with the prior zoning ordinance. But my question, if it is a question, it's a rhetorical one, I apologize, is whether that ordinance was improved by the special district zoning that Broad Street West would have made, which, as a proponent of Broad Street West, wholeheartedly, still, would have brought transit-oriented development at a modicum of affordable housing, not enough, but some, whether it was in the count or not, doesn't matter, to our town. And that its loss is regrettable over an issue of perception of density and height, and I will vote against the repeal.
Mm-hmm. If I could just comment on that, because one of the interesting things the governing body has done with this repeal is state in their resolution that they are not rescinding the area need of redevelopment designation. So consequently, leaves open the ability to
Of course.
adjust the
And there may
redevelopment
well
plan or
be
create
a
new one.
not-for-profit developer who sees profit to be made in developing affordable housing or workplace housing or any other things that we were striving to do on that steering committee. But my guess is that that won't happen. It's open to it, but it won't happen. It can't happen because it's not incentivized. Broad Street West was about incentivizing it to some degree, not enough.
Understood.
So the question is, does this really have to happen?
That's a governing body decision.
Isn't it, though?
And I say that for two reasons. One,
Yeah.
because it is, but also your comment back to the governing body is simply that. It's a comment. They could accept, reject, or accept in part your recommendation
Understood.
governing consistency of the statute. The municipal land use law does provide that if you determine, for example, that it was inconsistent, let's take the hardline approach, the governing body only has to modify its voting procedure in order to adopt what they've introduced if they wanted to do so.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the converse is that if we thought that it was not inconsistent with the master plan, the governing body effectively could overrule that,
Yes.
as I understand it. So they have, it has to be a supermajority, as I understand it, but could overrule it as effectively.
That is correct.
Yeah. So, I guess at this point, if there's any other questions or comments, we'll have to go to a roll call vote, I guess, at this point, Stephanie?
I believe we need a motion to,
Yes, that
Mr.
would be a
Chairman.
good idea, Chris. So if I can have a motion to approve that this is consistent and, or not inconsistent with master plan, and a second, that would be great.
So moved.
Any motion and a second?
Second.
Thank you.
I believe the motion would be motion to find the proposed ordinance not inconsistent with the city's master plan.
Yep.
If we wanted to catch it properly
Yeah,
with the minutes and such,
That's correct, thank you.
of course.
Yep.
Chairman Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. McNeil,
Yes.
Councilmember Miniger,
Yes.
Mr. Formicelli,
Yes.
Mr. Stern,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
No.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Joe, I think as far as tonight's goes, I think as relative to what we're going to hear from the Board of Ed, I think you can go ahead and go. We understand what your thoughts are.
Okay,
So
I
thanks.
appreciate the early night.
Thanks very much. We're trying to do this in a way that I anticipated. The reason I changed the order tonight is I anticipated members of the public being here with regard to the ordinance that we just discussed. And so I figured we would try to allow the most people that were here could leave and not stay all night through the presentations. Although I don't think this will be a particularly, thanks, Joe, we appreciate it. I don't think this will be particularly long. So I'd like to move to the resolutions. And we have the Planning Board 23-266 resolution as the first one on the agenda here, out of 5 there. And is there anyone here from the Attorney's Office or the applicant related to this resolution? Looking for Mr. Jason Tuval. Oh, hi. There you are.
Good evening. Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Danielle Kimback. I'm an attorney at Prime and Tuvell on behalf of
Okay.
the applicant for the
Yep.
adoption of the resolution
Yeah,
tonight.
welcome.
Thank you.
I just had actually just a question or two with regard to the resolution. Any of the board members have any comments or questions before I open up a question or two? It's a well-written resolution, as Steve and his team always does. It's very detailed. It was a complicated issue. A lot of relatively small items that had to be, essentially dealt with. And so, hearing no other questions, I guess my question to you is a simple one, is that basically with regard to this resolution, we're talking about a GDP approval for 10 years. We're talking about preliminary and major final site plan approval along with the various various requisite bulk relief set of questions. And also with regard to the applicant, they've agreed to all of the conditions that are listed in the resolution. I just want to, if you could confirm that, that'd be great.
Yes, I just want to double check the term in here because I
Okay.
don't remember on
Yep.
the top of my head. Yes, that is correct. The GDP amendment approval period of 10 years and the various bulk variance relief
Okay.
enumerated in the resolution.
Okay, I didn't find anything in the resolution. Sometimes I'm lucky I'll find a typo, but I didn't find one this time. Anybody find a typo? We get $1, and Steve pays each of us $1 if we can find a typo. But I thought it was well-written and well done, Chris, and if you had a hand in it, nice job, thank you.
A little bit more than a hand, but
Yeah, okay. No,
Appreciate
it was well done. So I guess we will need a motion to approve the resolution and a second. Want to have a motion from somewhere?
Motion given.
All right, Paul, and a second?
Second.
All right, thanks, Andy. All right, so and I assume we'll need a full vote on this resolution.
And if I could just confirm,
Yeah.
all the members here heard the application and are eligible to vote on the resolution?
Good question.
Well, I will tell you our eligible voting members.
Yep,
So it's Chairman Anderson, Mr. Brinkerhoff, Ms. McNeil, Mr. Delory, Councilmember Miniger, Vice Chairman Zucker, Mr. Formicelli, Mr. Stern, and Mr. Bell.
all right.
Great.
full slate.
Okay, so I couldn't compare that to who's here
Yeah.
when you went through
That
it.
would- That gives us a quorum, right, for that?
Do we have 5?
Yes,
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
believe so.
okay, all right.
Yes.
Go to the-
Okay, so I'll do the, okay.
So everyone here was present and is eligible. correct? We missed?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
All right, so 3 out of 5 would be needed for adoption.
Okay. Chairman Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. McNeil,
Yes.
Councilmember Miniger,
Yes.
Mr. Formicelli,
Yes.
Mr. Stern,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, great. All right, next resolution, I see Mr. Weber is here, with the firm of Alfonso and Weber. This is Resolution PB 22-263, and wonder if any members of the board have any comments or questions with regard to this resolution. It's pretty straightforward. Mr. Weber, I had one question, and I just, if you could clarify for us, in part of the resolution, we talk about it starting 190 days at August 1st, and then I think at the end of it, it references, now therefore be it resolved the planning board on this day, September 26th. Can you just clarify which date is where the 190 days starts?
I think the 190 days would be from August 1st. I've not had the pleasure of seeing the resolution
Oh, is that right?
beforehand. Now, but that's, it's always something that Mr. Warner and the attorney here are well versed and appropriate. But it would be from the August 1st would be appropriate, because that would have been the time that the original 190 days ran.
Okay,
Exactly.
thanks. And it's the, clearly, it sounds like this has been a real challenge with regard to the mortgage lenders that the three homeowners have had to deal with in terms, and I understand why the mortgage lenders are doing this, but it also, it's a relatively de minimis situation with the land, with the lot lines, so it's a lot of brain damage, I would guess. So I didn't have any other comments other than that. Just understanding the start date and the stop date is, as I see here, February 7th of 2024. And I'm assuming another 190 days will, 6 months plus or minus will get you where you need to go, you hope?
We're nearing the finish line at this point.
Okay, that's great.
We have Freddie Mac at one point actually sending in a request.
Is that right? Huh, interesting. All right. Well, any other questions from the board with regard to this resolution? All right, so may I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
And do a vote.
So our eligible voting members are Chairman Anderson, Mr. Brinkerhoff, Mr. Delory, Vice Chairman Zucker, and Mr. Stern. So we have 3 of them present. Is that okay, Mr. Sobieski?
That is,
Yeah, I believe so,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Chairman Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Brinkerhoff? Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm wrong. Mr. Brinkerhoff isn't here yet, so Mr. Stern.
Yes.
So we only have 2 present then of the eligible
Uh-oh.
voting members.
Mr. Weber, I've never run into a situation like this before, but
I
I'm
think
not
it would be
entirely,
appropriate. So you have a full quorum.
right, I think we
over
could
the
do all
meeting, and at
5
this-
because this isn't a vote on an application, it's a vote on an extension,
Correct.
correct? All right, so we,
Okay.
had to think about it for a second. Like I said, never ran into a situation.
Okay, so then the motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thanks,
I guess
Mr.
we're
Weber.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, hold on a second. So what are we doing? A vote with just 2? Or-
Are we,
Yeah, so would it just be the majority of the 2 present? Is that? how
I think we
do
could
it?
do everybody, all 5 who are present, correct?
But
Or am I,
they're-
given that it's extension, you would think all 5
Oh,
would
so we
make
should,
sense.
okay.
Yes.
so
right,
it
it's,
doesn't have to
it's
be
not a vote on
eligible.
an application, it's a vote on extending,
Okay,
right.
Yeah.
right.
okay, so then I'll do everyone who's
Yeah, let's do a
present.
full roll call,
Okay.
same first and second, just wanted to, yeah.
Okay, so then start over. Chairman Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. McNeil,
Yes.
Councilmember Miniger,
Yes.
Mr. Formicelli,
Yes.
Mr. Stern,
Yes.
and Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you.
There we go.
All right. So the public hearing tonight is with regard to the Walton C. Johnson Middle School and the Summit High School, and modifications that are being proposed. Thank you all for your patience. I just felt it made sense to clear the deck and give you the time that you need to do the presentations. I don't imagine there's a plaque either at the middle school or at the high school indicating that I graduated from both of those
Yes,
institutions.
oh, no, there is, Bill.
Oh, there is,
There
yeah.
is, absolutely, I've seen it.
However,
You can make that a condition.
however, Mr. Johnson was there when I was at the middle school, which gives you an idea just how old I am. Anyway, we look forward to hearing your presentation tonight, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman. My name is Rob Walsh. I'm the Chief Civil Environmental Engineer for EI Associates. We're the architects and engineers for the school district. Also, tonight, we have Mike Wozni, who's the architect, and project manager is Simone Short.
Yeah. Good evening, thank you for coming.
I'd like to also mention that Derek Jess, the school business administrator.
He looks familiar, I think I've seen him around here. Hi.
He's also here.
Yeah.
We don't need to swear in because it's a courtesy or,
Right.
unless you'd like to.
I'd like to swear just to be safe, if you guys
That's
don't
fine.
mind. Anybody, who's going to be testifying? Mr. Walsh?
I think all of us are going to be testifying.
All right, if you all wouldn't mind raising your right hand. And is our city engineer, sir, I don't know your name?
Sam.
Sam, okay. Do all you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great, thank you. And as Mr. Walsh mentioned, Mr. Chairman, I'll just throw this out for the board. Because this is a courtesy review application, notice was not actually required because it's technically not an application for development as defined by the MLUL. So with that, the floor is theirs. Just wanted a quick throwaway.
Just as an overview, we've been, EI Associates has been representing the school district for the past 15 years, Mike, and I've appeared before this board at least 4 times on various projects at the high school, Lincoln Hubbard, Jefferson, and the Franklin School. We're going to cover the middle school addition, some modest addition, 2-story addition, has roughly a 2,700 square foot footprint that is located within an alleyway or courtyard, open courtyard on the west side of the building. And we have this cover sheet exhibit there showing its general location. And I'd like to turn it over to Simone, who's a project manager, who can tell you about the nuts and
I'll
bolts.
do the speaking, Simone will make sure we have the proper graphics.
Okay.
As Rob mentioned, it's, the footprint is 2,750 square feet. It's a 2-story addition, so it's 5,500 square feet. The program for this addition is to support the STEAM curriculum, which is the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And so on the second floor, we've got STEAM labs, innovation labs, some renovated spaces for small group instruction. This alley is about just shy of 42 feet wide. It's currently paved. We're basically filling it in, leaving a small portion, creating a small courtyard for mechanical equipment. So what you'll see from the ball field side is the 42-foot elevation. We're matching the heights, existing brickwork, windows. We're creating a new entrance on that facade, as well as a required means of egress, a stair from the second floor. It'll be an open stair. It'll be secured by fencing, ornamental aluminum picket-type fencing. Inside the building, I mentioned the second floor innovation labs. On the first floor, we're in between the cafeteria woodshop wing to the left side of the addition, which is to the north, and on the other side of this alley is the existing gymnasium. So what we're doing is we are moving the woodshop, the existing woodshop, into the first floor of the new construction. That allows us to expand and relocate the kitchen and dining areas, so we've got new food service serving areas. It also allows us to add an innovation lab, small group instruction, and a security room on the first floor. Also inside the building, by the Muller's Gym, we are taking some storage space and we are converting it into a wellness center. And that's pretty much the entire program. It's pretty simple. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do you happen to have an elevation
Yep.
there? Yeah, thanks. I don't know, Rick, if you had a chance to look at the elevation at all? Have you had a chance to look at the elevation? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think the elevation's fine.
No, I have no objections. I think it's very commendable. I think what's noticeable more in the elevation is the ingenuity of the plan.
I'm sorry, can you just speak up a
Oh,
little
sorry,
louder?
yeah.
Thank you.
I think the plan is coherent and ingenious. You found the only place I can think of, my kids all went to that school, where there are no windows of any importance. There are storage rooms and bathrooms that won't suffer for lack of natural light. I'm kind of wondering why the courtyard was there at the beginning. Maybe those storage rooms and bathrooms were something else at the outset, but they aren't now. The only quibble I have, and it's really, really tiny, is the door near the top of the ramp. And I was wondering if that's really necessary, if the rooms might be more inviting, if when you go up that small ramp, there's a separation, and it's an outswinging door, it's code compliant, it's ADA compliant, no problem. But I'm wondering whether it's disinviting, you know, if it's necessary for either acoustical or other reasons, fine. And that's way beyond what a planning board should be looking at, so I apologize.
Are you talking about on the existing portion or on
the last,
the new construction?
One speaker, please.
Sorry. On drawing A72, again, I'm sorry for such a minor point, there's a door facing the up ramp that gives access to the new rooms on the second floor, on the last sheet of the set.
So the new door on the first floor of the new construction.
On the second floor or first floor?
Partial.
You said
It's really
72.
hard to see the labeling. Well, partial second floor plan?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Inside the building, we have a ramp that allows us to match the floor height of the existing.
Right, no, the ramp's
floor.
fine.
Right.
Just wondering whether the door at the top of that ramp is necessary or not. Again,
Yes, it's,
Yes.
it's a firewall, so
Okay.
it's not,
for
so
fire
it's
separation.
necessary.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. We've asked Rick, he's a great member of the board, runs the urban design program at Columbia University, so a registered architect and extremely well
Well, thanks, but
qualified.
I would also note that the committee comments were pretty interesting, and the Historic Preservation Committee for once commended the brickwork and the match, and I had no objections, and that's pretty rare.
And he was on the environmental commission for years. So I guess, Mr. Walsh, since you authored this letter, is there anything in this letter that would, that we needed to update us relative to the plans that we discussed?
Sure. There were a couple comments. The assistant city engineer, Sam, had some comments relative to a dry well we had.
Okay.
Because there's some courtyard drainage there.
Yep.
And until recently, I didn't know where it went, and then the plumbing guys picked it up, that it goes through the existing building, so that
Okay.
we had a dry well that we were ultimately planning to tie into the athletic field that we're working on right now. That's gonna have an under drain system, but there's no need to have that anymore. So we're gonna continue to drain it where it's currently going, so we
Okay.
eliminated the dry well. And the other comment, there was from Burgess as well as Krista, was concerns about the exterior lighting. And we did not show it on the architectural plans, but it's part of our electrical plans that have been submitted for building permits. And we have lights, I believe there are 3 lights on that elevation side. One above the first floor door that's facing Maple. Yep, right there. We've actually,
Here.
we submitted this exhibit where we've just drew a box around the lights there. So that's basically for the exterior stairs and the exit doors on that side. It's downward lighting. We also submitted cut sheets that, and I believe the lighting schedule even says it's the lighting temperature is below the ordinance of 3,500.
And then there was some
Okay.
screening, I guess, louvers, some screening louvers also submitted as a cut sheets?
Yes, we did. We submitted those because I think Krista again and Mr. Burgess wanted to see the material. So we've submitted that, and I think it's a pretty good quality facade material.
Okay, correct. And Sam, did you, I know you've reviewed these, did you have any comments that you'd like to put forward with regard to the middle school?
No, all of my comments were addressed.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay. I don't have any comments in particular with regard to this addition. Sounds like the STEM program is an important thing. Especially, I find it interesting being that it's at the middle school. It's a great time to start that. And so, any of the members of the board have questions on the middle school at all?
Mr. Chairman, I have just a couple very quick housekeeping items. I'm sorry, guys, can I get your names, just so because I have to write a resolution after this one way or another. I just want to make sure I'm properly identifying everybody. So, Mr. Walsh, I have you.
Michael Wozni, W-O-Z-N-Y.
We'll give you cards too.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
Right.
And you, miss?
Simone Short.
Simone Short, okay.
Okay, great.
And the plans we were looking at before, these are the ones revised June 2nd, 2023, correct? Just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. And you guys
Yes,
did
and-
submit.
And then we submitted a couple updated sheets
Yeah,
today.
clarifications were submitted electronically.
Right. I had 4 separate items. There was a letter from, I believe you, Mr. Walsh, dated September
Today.
26th.
Today, yeah.
That's today, actually, okay, that was quick. Renderings and plans, and then I guess this is a cut sheet for the,
Right,
this stuff.
that's actually for the
That's for the high school.
269.
This is for the high school,
application, high school.
okay. Just want to be sure, and the plans, this document you guys had submitted before. This is middle
Yeah,
school,
That's the high school, yes.
high school as
The
well?
only clarification on there was the limit of disturbance.
Okay, so we're going to get to the high school. I just want to make sure we have everything for the
Yep.
middle school in order here. And then there were 2 renderings. These are also high school.
High school.
High school.
And the letter is, all of these were high school related, all these documents.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
so we don't,
particular-
okay, great. So we'll
That's
deal,
permit 269, I think is the number, 268 is the middle school.
okay, great. Just wanted to confirm.
Identified on the letter.
Right, and we'll, when we come to the high school portion of this, I'd ask you guys to please introduce these as exhibits, because technically, I mean, I know it's not a public hearing as contemplated by statute, but just want to make sure we're doing everything in an
So
organizational
do you
way.
want the exhibits that were for this
The
particular one?
plans we have ahead of time, so we don't need to mark those as an exhibit.
Oh,
Right,
well,
but
they
we-
were.
There was
ex-
another
additional.
letter.
You have to
I'm
speak one at a time
sorry.
so I can make a clean record.
Go ahead, Mr. Wall.
There were 2 submittals. There was one for the middle school and one for the high school, separate, so we wouldn't. So
Okay.
you apparently don't have the middle school.
I was not given the middle school documents, and that's not helpful, but,
We can get that to you.
okay,
We
great.
could just forward.
Do you guys have copies with you today?
I actually
I
did.
actually can give you my copy.
Okay, great, if you wouldn't mind. I just want to make sure they're entered into the record as exhibits, just for clarity's sake. I'm sorry to belabor this anymore than it
No,
needs to
that's
be.
okay.
Just want to make sure we're doing everything right.
Do it the right way.
Okay, good. Okay, great, yeah, we can remove that. Okay, okay, great, thank you very much, Mr. Ward. All right, so I would ask of the applicant, who's not really an applicant, we'll mark the letter dated September 26, 2023 as Exhibit A1. The Advisor Screening Systems packet will mark as Exhibit A2. Do we have a date for this one by chance, or is this just?
It's an undated, it's
Undated.
a manufacturer's
Okay, manufacturer's
product at it.
product guide. And then this bad boy right here, I'm not exactly
That's
sure what this
the
is.
lighting fixture cut sheet.
Lighting fixture cut sheet, we'll mark that A3. Undated, I believe. And then the colorized, well, partially colorized plans marked as Exhibit A4. And these are 2 separate items, or are these all part of the
Well,
same?
electronically, the E drawings, which consist of 3 drawings,
Mhm.
they were electronically submitted as one file. So it's up to you whether you want to make the electrical drawings consist of 3 sheets as one exhibit, or do you want to break them out as 3 additional exhibits? And then,
We'll mark it all as one exhibit, because I think they're all
Yeah.
packaged together, so that makes it
Yep.
easier. So just for the record, Exhibit A4 is,
they're identified at the top of the transmittal letter, so you can just mark it right next to the list.
right. My apologies. Just went on back. Drawings.
Some red chicken scratch on there.
Right, I see. Drawings E21A, E22A,
So you're saying Z or Z22, what do you say?
E is an echo.
Just give me those sketch drawings.
Sure. Drawing E21A, Drawing E22A and drawing E52 are all under the banner of Exhibit A4. We could just mark those revised architectural drawings. I think that's an easier way to title the entire exhibit. And that's dated March 22nd, or I'm sorry, May 22nd, 2023. And then I'm so sorry, guys, to be belaboring this, but erring on the side of
No,
caution.
Chris, is good. We want to get it right.
Right.
Get it right.
And then Exhibit A5, we're going to mark, that is the 2 pages, we can call this is engineering. I guess these are revised engineering drawings.
C's 01 and C02.
Correct. All right, so, yeah, pages C01, C02, we'll call that Exhibit A5, revised engineering drawings dated September 25th, 2023. Okay, and that is all I have. I'm so sorry to beat you guys up, but I err on the side of caution as always.
Yep, okay, good, thanks. All right, so I think we need a vote in this case, Chris, with regard to a motion and a vote.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. So much like the master plan consistency question for the proposed ordinance, yet again, you have to decide whether or not this proposal is consistent. Well, actually, let me predicate that again. You have to decide whether or not this proposal is not inconsistent with the city's master plan, much like you did with the ordinance. So, and you could also make recommendations as to the design if you decide to. That's really where the limit of the board's authority here, because it's a capital project done by a governmental entity.
Right.
School boards in particular have exemptions from the MLU as opposed to, private applicants would. So, I had another little point on that.
In our conversation with Joe, he basically said that he had found no inconsistencies in either of these applications.
That's correct, Mr.
Just so that the
Chairman.
board's aware of it.
Right, and in the,
Bless you.
and I believe in Joe's memos as well that he proffered one for each of the school projects.
Yes.
He did state that he would find that finding this proposal consistent with the master plan would be a reasonable finding by the board.
Yes.
So make of that what you will, but that's
No, that's
his recommendation as a plan.
That's his job, yep.
Right.
So I wanted to be sure the board members were aware of that.
right.
Okay. So, any other questions with regard to the Summit Middle School for EI Associates? All right. So may I have a motion to approve? I guess we're saying a motion to approve, yes, effectively.
Motion to find the proposed project not inconsistent with the city's master plan.
Thank you.
I got you.
And a second? Yep. All right, who was the first? Who, motion, did I miss that, or was it? Oh, okay. Paul and Rick, thank you. All right.
Okay, Chairman Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. McNeil,
Yes.
Councilmember Miniger,
Yes.
Mr. Formicelli,
Yes.
Mr. Stern,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Great, thanks. All right, we'll move on to the high school.
Okay, I'll ask Simone to pull up the high school. Let's start with the site plan. So this addition consists of a second-floor addition over the existing media center. It's approximately 6,200 square feet. If you're familiar with the view from Kent Place, it's the curved portion of the building. It's the only portion of this year 2000 addition that is one story. The rest of it's all 2 stories. So we're building up, again, to support the STEAM program. So on the second floor, within that 6,200 square feet, we have an audio engineering room, architecture and engineering instruction space. We've got a computer science lab, biology lab, robotics lab, also to support STEAM. There's also an open area that's common and accessible from all these labs for breakout sessions and collaborative efforts. Inside the existing building, we are converting an old health classroom into a chorus room, a drama room into theater and dance. On the first floor, this area will still act as the media center, but we're adding a TV studio with editing and control room. The original TV studio in the existing building will be converted into a health classroom. We're making renovations that also include small group instruction spaces, 4 of them that will be along that curved wall, again, for collaborative efforts and breakout efforts. Another health classroom, and then we're renovating all the existing spaces, the circulation desk, workroom, and office space. Outside the building, we are removing the sloped standing seam metal roof. It flows into a concealed gutter that is behind glass reinforced concrete panels. This construction has been problematic ever since it was built in the 200s. It's been a maintenance and a repair nightmare for the district. Several years ago, we repaired this detailing over the main entrance to the school facing Kent Place, and currently it's in need of repair. We're actually going to remove the colonnade, that fascia, the metal standing seam roof, and we are going to be working off of the curved wall that is behind the columns, and we'll be going straight up from that point. It'll be a much cleaner finish. We have a rendering that Simone's going to bring up here. So again, we're just taking up the footprint of that existing media center, going straight up, matching the brickwork, matching the windows, and all the other exterior materials. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right. With regard to the letter that we received from Mr. Walsh, is there anything that we need to go through there?
I know Krista's comments dealt with the interior of the building where I identified ramps, and she just needed confirmation. I told them to testify that they are ADA compliant. And then there was a question as to whether any lighting was being added. And on the site plan that we amended, where we indicated the total limit of disturbance was, I think it was 3,775 square feet. We also indicated that there will be a light installed over the first floor doorway that's being installed in the alleyway between the main building and the media center. So, and that's going to be right above the doorway. It complies with the light color requirements of the zoning ordinance, and it's going to be mounted approximately 8 to 10 feet above grade, so it's not going to be exceeding the height requirement. And it will not be facing anywhere but the adjoining building space. So I don't think there was anything besides that. And of course, the HPC asked that we generate the rendering.
Yeah, okay, that looks good. Sam, anything you'd add to the letter or to your comments at all?
No further comments.
Okay, great, thanks. Any members of the boards have comments of Mr. Walsh and his team? Yeah, Rick?
Be very brief, and also I'd like to commend the ingenuity of finding space without taking any planted area or even parking spaces off the map. I was on a committee that was looking at this design when it was built, and this was always a question, and I think you resolved it. You know, the addition of this curved element at 1 story always seemed like a design mistake, and integrating as you have the building into the building massing on the most prominent facade, the one that people see passing by, the one that people see entering most likely, works well. The fenestration lines up, the masonry as you've described it. So I was going to say, yeah, where's the rendering echoing HPC? And there it is, and it looks good. So thank you.
Good, thank you. Thanks, Rick, I appreciate that. Anyone else? Yes, Chris?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I got to do it again.
Yeah, please.
We got to mark these as
Oh, yeah,
exhibits.
I was
My
about to get
apologies.
there, yep.
So taking them in order, and I promise I'll go faster this time.
That's all right, take your time.
Letter dated September 26, 2023, we're going to mark as Exhibit A1. That's from Mr. Walsh to the board. We'll mark the 2 architectural renderings that were submitted as Exhibit A2. And do we have a date for those? Oh, September 26th, 2023. Okay, next up, revised, because you can call this a site plan. Yeah, revised site plan dated September 25th, 2023 will be Exhibit A3. And then finally, the cut sheets from the manufacturer of the wall vents. You have to forgive me, I'm not an architect. We're going to mark that as Exhibit A4, and that's undated, unless someone says something to the contrary, but I don't see a date on it. Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thanks, Chris, very good. So in this case, may I have a motion indicating that this project is not inconsistent with our master plan?
You got it.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
And a second, thanks.
And I would just caution, Mr. Brinkerhoff unfortunately came in a few minutes late, so I believe he would be ineligible to vote on this just because he missed the first couple minutes of testimony. My apologies, I'm sure.
Okay. Chairman Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. McNeil,
Yes.
Councilmember Miniger,
Yes.
Mr. Formicelli,
Yes.
Mr. Stern,
Yes.
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Well, thank you all very much for
Thank
being here tonight. You did a really
you.
nice job on these projects, and
Thank you.
it's going to be a great resource for our students. So thanks very much.
Appreciate it.
Good night. Thank you.
And business cards, please, on the way out, just so I don't misspell your names. Thank you.
After the fact, could I just add one more comment?
Absolutely.
If there's a way of integrating solar panels, especially
Appreciate
with
it.
steam right below, I'm not sure which way is south. They could probably figure that out in the drawings. But that would be an interesting welcome to the building and to what's being taught just below it.
I'm sure the district will take that into consideration.
It doesn't have to be in the record or in the resolution.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
That's a good point, though, Rick, because I think with the students in STEAM in particular, where students are going these days, I think that would be a
No more
good thing.
steam heat.
I think that would be a good extra credit project for the students.
Yeah, absolutely. No question,
Bill, need to-
no question.
And Mr. Chair, could I have one more minute?
Absolutely.
I know it's not often that we have members of the public who are here not to say anything at all, but there's a planner in the room and a new arrival in Summit who has worked for over 2 decades as a planner in the UK. And I would just like to introduce Rachel Reno, who's sitting in the back row.
Hi, Rachel.
Who I was hoping was going to comment on all these projects. And thank you for being here.
Yeah, well, welcome,
Welcome.
welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
One of my favorite comments years ago when Tony Blair was visiting the White House and giving a joint press conference on the South Lawn with then President Bush 43, Tony Blair stepped up and said, "Well, it's nice to be back. I understand the last time we were here, we made a bit of a mess of the thing." So, we understand it was a little bit of a mess when he was finished, when they were finished at the time. So, Jay, you're here right in time to review and approve the board minutes, the meeting minutes rather, from the
Yes.
July 24th board meeting. So we saved the best for last. If you all have taken a look at these minutes, I didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary for me. I did have one question here. Stephanie, when this flows from here, this is just, it's a resolution, like this is a resolution, and that's a resolution.
Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah, okay. I just want to be sure I was following it.
Yeah.
It's me, that's the one that's, I didn't have any comments, questions, additions, or deletions to the July 24th meeting minutes. Did anyone have anything to add to those?
Approval?
Yeah, Stephanie, another great job, of course. Yeah, I guess we need, I guess. a
Can we
motion
hold
to
off
effect-
1 second, Mr. Chairman? I
Sure.
think I had something, I'm just trying to
Okay.
find it in my mess papers. It wasn't entirely material, but nonetheless about the reason.
All right, sure. Please do. This kind of kills me, Andy, when I think about all the paper. I know. So I around it, killed about 50 trees. All the way around it.
Oh, there we go. Just a very quick couple of points on the 2 High Street resolution.
Oh, yes.
Right. Attorney for the applicant, Vasta Real Estate, Ms. Rosemary Stone Dougherty, was sworn in by Mr. Warner. It should just say, after Ms. Rosemary Stone Dougherty entered her appearance on behalf of the applicant.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Because technically, an attorney, when they're here, they're not actually testifying, they're just proffering, so they're not sworn. And that same comment would apply to Mr. Jason Tuvell on page 2.
Okay.
Say that again, Chris, so I can understand what the distinction is.
Sure, totally. So when an attorney is before you guys acting as an attorney, not as an
Yeah.
applicant,
Right,
they're not actually testifying. They're arguing, they're proffering, they're contending.
gotcha.
So they're not technically under oath when they testify, thus wouldn't be sworn in by Mr. Warner because there's nothing to swear
I
to.
got you.
So
I understand.
just a very minor distinction,
No, I
just wanted to
understand
be
that.
clear.
Yeah, I get it, yeah, thanks.
And that's all I had, thank you.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
All right, so with regard to the meeting minutes, do we just do a voice vote on those?
Mhm. Well, we need a motion and a second.
All right, Jake, would you give us a motion to
So
approve the meeting minutes? Thank you. And a second?
Second.
All right, thank you.
So all those in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
all right. Well, thank you all very much. This is kind of an interesting meeting tonight with regard to the, both the ordinance to repeal the, I guess, the brush request proposal, and then with regard to the two school applications, or not even applications, two school presentations. It was one of those nights where we actually didn't decide much of anything. We had to conduct business to get it done, right? So,
Not inconsistent.
yeah, so, yes, so, yeah. So,
Can I ask you a procedural question? Maybe
sure,
it's
yeah,
more-
Chris would be the guy.
Absolutely, Mr. Bell.
When it's a courtesy review, what's the obligation to do a vote? Is it a recommendation
know,
to
that-
the applicant? Or it's not an applicant? What's-
Chris, what would you?
You're allowed to make recommendations. I didn't hear any from any members of the board of either project.
Right,
so-
right.
Right, so, but you are obligated to, really the only check you could say that the planning board would have on another governmental entity's planning or land development application would be just the simple finding whether or not it's consistent or not with the master plan.
Yeah.
As to what would happen if you were to find it not consistent, quite frankly, I'm not sure because I've never seen it before. But nevertheless, if you want to send me to the United States, or to the US, the New Jersey Supreme Court to argue that,
Yeah,
be my guest.
Well, I think we know the answer to that, don't we? I read that recently. If we were to conclude that it was not, the governing body can proceed, but it requires a supermajority.
Right.
for
Right.
them
Right,
to-
yeah.
When it's the governing body, when it's an outside
Oh.
agency like a school board, that's, but you are correct on that
I
one,
was
yes.
being, I
Right.
brought your request on mine,
Right.
sorry.
Right, when it's an ordinance, you're absolutely correct, Mr. Brinkoff, yes.
Been 11 years.
do you have a?
That's gonna go on for 11 more.
It might go on for- yeah.
All right, so I guess what we'll have to do here is
Oh.
adjourn this meeting. Thank you all, and we'll see you next month.
you.
Appreciate your
Thank
time
you.
very much. Richard, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's good to see you again.
Oh, yes. On the train early morning. Literally, like 6 a.m.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
The,